Good evening once again. Can I see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you guys for joining this call. I so much appreciate it. All right. So today we're talking about introduction to Docker as code. Now, Docker as code is documentation as code, which means you're treating your documentation as code. Now, writing, revising, and publishing, steps can be made more efficient using documentation techniques, which is known as Docker as code. So just like the way you publish your document on Google Docs, on Notion, on like Medium, dev.to, Hashnode, how you publish your content now. Now imagine you want to publish your content there. You want to have a draft version. I want somebody to make changes to that, or probably for somebody to drop a comment. It's very difficult to work with those processes and also to track the changes and probably come back to history. You can do that with your Google Docs. You can just give somebody a write access, edit access, or a comment access. They make comments, give somebody an edit access, they can make changes to this. But I don't think there is a way you can even go back to history. Somebody make changes and saves, you can't go back to history. So, but when you have this Docker code process, it makes the process very easy. It makes everybody work together. Now, Docker code, as the name suggests, handles documentation like code base. Just like the way you have your code base, the way you store your code base on code storage like GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab. That is how you also store your documents on GitHub. Same practice of pushing your code from any text editor of your choice. Let's use, for instance, VS Code, push it to GitHub. That is how you also do the documents too. Now, documentation as code recommends writing in a plain text markup language like Markdown. So Markdown is the preferred markup language used in Docker code. Now, pushing that documentation through an automated pipeline. You can use an automated pipeline, which is called CI/CD. Just like you have your GitHub Action, you have your Jenkins and SQL CI that will help you automate the processes of pushing your docs from VS Code down to your code storage. So let's use GitHub as example. So you can push it down to GitHub easily. So now imagine developers making changes and somebody is in US, you're in Nigeria, and you have another person in Kenya, and you're making changes on a particular document. You're having somebody working on introduction, the other person working on about us, you have the other person working on installation, and you guys are working on the same document, making several changes to whatever you want to make on that particular document. Now, without even having conflict, which is really, really awesome. So that is the idea of Docker code, bringing that documentation process into bringing that code base process, the programming, storing of codes, pushing from one ID down to the code storage. That same process, that same idea, you now have it with documentation. Now, what is the Docker code features? I call the ingredients, or call it the features. Now, one is the writing format, which I stated earlier that the writing format is recommended writing format is plain text markup language, Markdown. So now, the next thing for you to know is that they are being engineered by the static site generators. So we have different static site generators. We have Docker Serious, you have you have MKDocs, you have Doxify, you have Hugo, you have Jekyll, and you have so many of them. So these static site generators, the format they support is Markdown. So that is why Markdown is more like the recommended format. Now, the next one is the version control system. So it uses, because it's Docker code, which is just having simple as a code base being pushed to GitHub. So it uses a version control system, which is the popular one called Git. Now, you also involve the continuous integration process. So you use, if it's on GitHub, it's preferred to use GitHub Action, but you can use SQL CI or Jenkins or anyone you prefer, but GitHub Action is more like preferred when you work with GitHub. Now, the next one is collaborating with other writers using version control. Now, you have a subject matter expert, somebody you're supposed to get an information from. Now, you're writing on a particular topic and you want to make changes. Okay, you can kind of push your changes. Now, you submit it to the engineer to go through. Now, looking at it, the engineer will probably, okay, I think you need to make some changes here. Now, he can easily help you make those changes and even merge. So it's easy. The collaboration with the engineers and the writers and every other stakeholders in the company or startup, will be very smooth and easy using Docker's code. Now, running validation check. You can, instead of using Grammarly, probably, which is very, very necessary. So even using Grammarly, you might maybe make some mistakes or errors or skip some certain things you probably need to remove or something. Now you copy that from Grammarly, put it on your text editor, add your Markdown syntax, and you push. You can push errors, misspellings down to your GitHub code base. Now, GitHub sorry. So there are tools that can help to run these validation checks. We have tools that can check for grammatical errors. We have tools automatically that can check for spelling errors and punctuation errors and every other errors necessary. So one of them is Veil, VALE. So this Veil can help check for grammatical errors and all that, spelling errors, so you don't push mistakes. So instead of having you push it there, it will highlight those errors for you, and you would now make those changes. Now imagine you don't have that in place. Okay, let's say you have your Google Docs with so many errors and all that. You push and you just give the link, share link to your engineer to go through before you want to publish it. When the person goes through it and I see so many spelling errors and you're having so many punctuation misplaced words and all that. So, but when you have a validation tool like this that can automatically check it for you, it will be very easy. So these are the features of Docker's code. Now the advantage is developer docs contribution. It's easier for developers to contribute to the docs themselves. When you go to Google Docs or when you go to any other docs, you just get to see the GitHub button or GitHub text. They are telling you can make changes, or you can probably see edit here. So maybe like for myself, I was going through the Kotlin documentation. I saw some spelling errors. So I used the edit here, submitted my suggestions and corrections, and it was merged. And I got a message of thanks for helping us to improve the docs. I'm an engineer, and it's very easy for me to make changes to that. So this will help everybody to help make changes to the docs and make the docs very good. So that also brings us to collaboration. So it's easier for everybody to work. All the authors, the writers, the developers, even the users, just like myself, I was a user of Kotlin. I was not the engineer that built the doc, or probably engineer that even built the Kotlin language or improving the Kotlin language, but I was just a user going through the docs trying to understand the particular tool that was built using Kotlin. And I saw that error and I decided to help as a user. So it will foster collaboration and also the devs contribution. Now, before I continue, because this is practical section, so if you have VS Code right now, you can open your VS Code. We have different static site generators that are available that can be used, but I decided to just pick Docker Studios for us to work with. I don't have any specific reason. I just felt like using it. So you have Docker Studios, you have Doxify, you have MKDocs, you have ViewPress, you have Hugo, different Docker code static site generators available that can help you with Docker code methodology or process. So, but today we're going to use Docker Studios. So, but because of time, I have installed this already. Else it will take so much time. So I can also share the link to the official docs. So you will copy this in your VS Code and you will install. So this will install Docker Sales for you, and you cd into this my website folder, then you do npm run start. So npm run start would now run the development review section for you. So that's where you can make your changes before you publish for the public to see. So this is build. Build will now build it, give you the public folder where you can now push and host it for the public to see. So let me check this. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So let me cancel this. So the first thing I did, which I showed you, what is this? So the first thing I did was to install using this. So this will install the whole packages that we need. Then after installing, I'm already in this my website folder. So if you look here, you will see that this is the only folder we have here. So now this will be automatically generated by Docker Sales for you. So I'm already there. Then the next thing for me to run is npm run start. So this will now run the development environment for us where we can make changes before you push. Okay, now, so this is how easy it is. What I did was just installing and running this, and we have these docs like this. So it's very easy for you to build static site generators like this using Docker Solos or Doxifier or Hugo. Now they have different themes that you can work with. So you just have to make some changes to it and you're good to go. Now with this, I can decide to change this logo. I can decide to change the name. I can decide to change whatever I want to change right here, and the changes will reflect immediately. Now, looking at these docs, you see it already came with this GitHub that will take me directly to the GitHub. If I want to make changes to that, I can use my Daylight theme. This is already automatically added. You see it has a footer, making it easy for you. You can now go back to this. Now, if I want to make changes to this, now we have my site as the name, and look at my site here. So we go to and make this paper. So you go to my website, open the folder, you look for this Dockerceros config.js. Now config is configuration. So this is where you make changes, where you configure and modify or customize your docs to the way you want. So this is my site. This is the title. This is the tagline. This is the URL. This is the base URL, the unbroken links, or the fav icon, which is what you have there, the organization name, project name. So this is where you make your changes. Now, this is for translation. So you have your local to English. You can add as many languages as you want. So coming down, you make changes to, this is like the configuration file where you make changes to the look and feel of your docs. Now this is the edit URL, being that GitHub URL. So you can change this. If you push this to GitHub, you can change this GitHub URL you have here to the one to the actual repo of these docs. Now this is the blog. This is what we have here. Show reading time. You can show reading time true or not. So now let's start with this. Let's start from here. So this is my site and the tagline. Then as also my site and this. So now let's change this to our docs. This is the title of the docs. This is the title of the docs. So if we want to make changes to this title of the docs, come here and make changes to this. So So for us to check, this is what we have here, our first doc. So we want to also change this installation. So going down, let's say we want to make changes to this nav section, we call it. So looking here, we're having our docs, no longer my site. Now we have this as tutorial, we have this as blog. If you want to make changes to this nav bar, this is the nav bar, this is your title. So we can call this, instead of tutorial, we call it docs. And what are we having here? We are having our docs. So this is how you make changes to this. Okay, now let's go down, click on docs. Now this is our actual docs. You have all this as default. Very awesome. These are the necessary features. So I'll probably list out the necessary things you need to see in a complete documentation. So we have this coming down. You can create a page. Now, if you want to add an extra information, so let's go to our docs. So we are having tutorial basics and tutorial extra. Now this is our docs, this is the tutorial basics, and this is the tutorial extra. So to add our own, let's just check if we can add our own. We add a new folder, we call it production.
Sorry, please, the installation, where are we putting the link?
I dropped the link in the chat.
No, I know, as in, where is the installation? Is it in the VS Code?
Yes. You will create a new folder and open your terminal in VS Code. Then you use that installation command. Let me drop the installation command for you. So this is installation command you will use.
Okay.
Okay, so can you mute, please?
Oh, sorry.
Control save. So we have tutorial basics, tutorial extra, and I have introduction. So if you click on introduction, you have hello. You click on hello, you have this. So this is how to add, if you want to add more information to it. So now, going to this first one, you see you have this by the side. So this can be added when you use your H2 tag. So looking at this, we don't have that. So we can add that. So let's say we have here. So what are we having here now? We're having our second intro because we use the H2 tag, which is the double hash. So if you have more, decide to add more, you also have this. Now this makes it very easy for you to get to content. Now, let's say I'm here right now and I probably want to go up and the page is too long. If I click this, it takes me to here. Okay, maybe I want to get down. I want to probably read something. Maybe I start something. You click this, it will take you down there. Very easy. So when you go to documentation and you don't find this by the right hand side, that shows you that that doc needs to be improved. So these are the little features that you need to see in a docs. This, and for the docs not to have the search feature, you need to add a search feature. So our docs is not complete because we don't have a search feature. So going through their docs, we see how to add pages, docs, how to add the docs, create a new doc, create a nice sidebar, the blog, the markdown feature. So this is where you would see. So look, I have code blocks, you have tabs, you have this. Let's see if you can see. Okay, this is search. And they also have SEO. So, a docs that does not have SEO feature is not supposed to be used because your docs won't be read by anybody, just by you and your team alone. Let's check our blog. So this is the blog. Now the blog has a read time. The blog has a read time and date. And this is how the blog looks like. So now let's say we click this welcome and you're reading about this. And there is an option in our config file. This is nav. This is the nav bar. This is the title. This is the logo. This is where I can make those changes. Now we have the footer where you can make other changes to change probably whatever you want. I think in the nav bar we have where did I see that? This is our docs. This is where I can make changes to the docs section. And this is where I can make changes to the blog. So you can also go to their official documentation and read more about this blog section, probably what to do and how to add information and a lot about that. So we have that read time, and they said we can disable. So showing read time true or false. So we say false, don't show us read time. So looking at this place, we don't have that read time telling us that to take how many minutes or how many seconds to probably read this. We don't have it. We only having the date here. So if we put that to true, remember we don't have it here. If we save this and come here, we're having it 1 minute read. This is for 3 minutes. So this is how you make changes to this. So you work with the docs, they will probably give you the guide. This is the docs that will help you guide you to make changes and update your the considered docs. Okay, so you here this is okay. Let's check this. Let's open the blog. Open one of the blog. Okay, let's check this one. Okay, so here we're having our slug, the first blog post, the title, you're having the author name, you're having the title of the blog, you're having the URL, you're having the image URL, and you're having the tags. So which one is this first blog post? Let us check this. Which one is this one? Okay, first blog post. Okay, so this is the name. This is the name. So I can change this name to my name. Let's change to my name. So you're having the URL, you're having the title. What's the title? This is the title. So we can change this to introduction to Beta Serious. We're having it here. Now this is the actual content. Look at the actual content. Okay, I love playing. Let me see. Add some space. Now this is the tags. Now look at that awesome stuff I'm talking about. You can now edit this page. Now editing this page, let us check. This is the URL. Now this is the section. This is the actual section. This is on Bucafio's page, GitHub repo. So this is that actual content. Look at the name, look at the title, look at the URL. So as a normal user, maybe I think this is wrong. I want to probably make some suggestion. You can just make the suggestion. This is where you can do it. Start making your suggestion from here, and you send your pull request. And if they like it, they will merge it. Make changes to your docs. You can make changes from here to here. You can make changes from this copyright. You can make changes to whatever you have in your footer. This is the header, this is the footer, this is the body, this is the title, this is the nav bar. You have these other features, GitHub and the day-night theme here. So you can make changes to whatever you want to make changes here. You have all the power to do that from your config, config file. So you can also start playing around with this. It's going to help you to understand it more.